Breathtaking views on a crisp autumn morning. We're in Earlysville, Virginia, the home to Panorama Farms, a sprawling 850 acres of natural beauty. Rolling pastures, dense forests, all nestled in the shadows of the Blue Ridge Mountains. Today, this palette of fall colors gets ready to host the 2022 ACC Cross Country Championships. And a pleasant good morning. Sean Kinney alongside longtime Duke coach Norm Ogilvie. Great to have you with us. I'll tell you what, Norm, a stunning backdrop for what could be a special start to the postseason for the ACC.
It's beautiful in Earlysville this morning.
Absolutely gorgeous conditions, and these teams are ready to go. Let's start on the men's side, where it's all about balance. No conference in the country has more ranked teams entering the postseason than the ACC. 7 teams in all, headlined by the two-time defending champs from South Bend.
And Notre Dame lost more than about any program could expect to. 2 NCAA champions. But they reload in South Bend, and they've got Carter Solomon and Isaiah Sturry to try and take them to the top once more.
7 ranked teams. Will Notre Dame make it 3 years in a row? On the women's side, it's a little more clear-cut. Last year, North Carolina State ran away from the field. They finished with an impressive 20 points to win their 6th consecutive ACC title. They went on to win an NCAA championship, and it just looks like they are not going to slow down anytime soon.
No, anyone that wants to make an argument that they can beat NC State has to deal with the law firm of Tui, Camille, and Bush, and I don't think they will win.
Lots of firepower for NC State. When we come back, Norm's going to break down this scenic course, take us what we can expect over the next couple of hours as we get set for the ACC Cross Country Championships. Runners would call this absolutely perfect weather as we welcome you back to Panorama Farms, Earlysville, Virginia. We're about 6 miles away from the grounds at the University of Virginia. Partly cloudy, 51 degrees, a very light wind. It's under 10 miles per hour. It's been a dry week here in the Charlottesville area, so that's certainly good news, and all the factors adding in to a pretty special day. Vin Lananna, when he took over the Virginia job, had a vision in mind 4 years ago, and that vision soon to become a reality.
When I arrived here, I put myself in the best position possible to set us up to improve the program by putting something out there, a goal out there, and that is to host the 2023 NCAA Cross Country Championships. For me, it's all about every student athlete that gets here, whether he or she is from Virginia or elsewhere, that they come in and are wowed by the environment, the meet management, the accommodations that we make for the student athletes. In the end, that's what this is all about.
And I know we were both wowed when we took a look at this course. Absolutely gorgeous here at Panorama Farms. Some of the runners getting loose. And Norm, it's time now to break down the course. What can we expect here, starting with the men's competition?
Well, the men go 8K, so they'll essentially do a loop of 3,000 meters, 2,000 meters, and 3K. Here you start, and it's a slight uphill to the first 600 meters, where marked by those hay bales. So the field's going to crunch down from 15 teams to roughly 15 across at this point. And then they will continue to go uphill to the turn, and at this turn we will approach the 1K mark. And here you're seeing you're going around that hairpin turn, and there's the sign that shows 1K. And then we head into the part of the course that's most tricky, undulating hills, a couple sharp drops, and then the footing's a little unsure. Then it comes back out to the course, and then you go back against the direction you came out in, and then swing behind the starting line and into the field with a smaller loop that will conclude loop 1. And there's the look out on the course. Again, undulating hills. The footing is not the greatest. It can twist and turn your feet a little bit, but it's a great spectator course. Everybody can see the runners many times. And here you see the start of the second loop, which is donated by the red. That's just a 2K loop. So they go 3K loop, 2K loop in the red. And then the orange donates, shows where the third loop is, which is also, again, 3K. And then you come around to that field and finish right there, the end of the 8K, down that stretch. You actually finish up a little hill, and then the last 50 meters from that flagpole you see is a straight shot to the finish.
Student athletes arrived in Earlysville earlier this week, and we were curious their thoughts as they walked the course, many of them for the very first time.
One thing about this course is that it's, pure grass all the way through.
You gotta be really fit to run well. We gotta be brave and run from the front.
Definitely a lot of winding turns, which is definitely tough, and kind of a lot of undulations. It's, you're kind of sideways at parts, so that part's gonna be hard, just kind of getting good footing.
Got some rolling hills here, which can be kind of challenging. But if you save up just enough to put the right moves around a little over halfway, you can make some big grounds on people who are going out a little bit too hard.
I mean, you have a lot more space and a lot more time to get in the right position, so there's really no excuse for teams not to bunch up and run together.
You're able, to pass guys easily. That could be a really good strategy for us eventually when it comes, the last, 3K we can pass.
Not pressing too hard up the hills. Obviously it rolls a lot throughout the course, so if you can stay as relaxed as possible up the hills, especially in the early stages of the race, I think it's a good way to save some gears for the last few Ks.
You just kind of have to go with the flow of the course with a little bit. You have to kind of take the hills and not exert too much early on, and then kind of really emphasize the second half of it, because that's whenever the race really begins.
The two-time defending champs are ready to roll. Notre Dame getting loose. The men's race moments away. A wide open field on a gorgeous Friday morning. Notre Dame has won 3 of the last 4 ACC men's titles. They won in Boston in 2018 and Cary in 2020. And then last year on their home course in South Bend, they were able to capture another ACC championship. As you see the field lined up, a wide open field. No conference in America has 7 ranked teams inside the top 30, but that is the statement and the case that the ACC can make heading into this busy stretch as we close out October and then get ready for regionals and nationals next month.
This is a truly exciting moment for the ACC men's race. There are a bunch of teams that could win this. Notre Dame certainly has history on its side, but actually a lot of inexperienced runners as far as running ACC meets. So we'll see how they handle it.
It is one of the more fascinating sights and sounds in all of sports. The opening of the 8K. Steeplechase champions, mile champions, the endurance of the 10,000 meters, all combined into the sprint and the positioning in the opening straightaway.
As you can see, it looks like almost a funnel as they head towards the 2 hay bales at 600 meters. And you have to get out to a certain extent. But as other runners have said, if you put too much early, especially on a course like this with undulating hills and bad footing, you can really pay for it in the second half. So how you choose to open up these first 600 meters is a bit of a strategy. And sometimes the more inexperienced athletes will run too fast in the beginning. As we see here at the very early on, we see a lot of white and orange Virginia in the center of the pack. They're the home team, of course, coached by the veteran Vin Lanana. Virginia's my dark horse pick to win this. Florida State with 2 runners up front. They've had a bit of an off year so far and hope to turn that around today. We see a lot of UNC runners in the light blue and white. And today, by the way, is a good illustration of the great history of ACC cross country. A special birthday shout out to a UNC runner named Jim Beatty. He's 88 years old today. He won the first 3 ACC cross-country titles in 1954, 1955, 1956. He was unbeaten as a Tar Heel back then, and he set course records on all 3 courses that he ran. He remains the only 3-time ACC cross-country champion. Perhaps his shining moment was right after his days at UNC, ever to break 4 minutes.
Well, he has just turned 19 in July. Colorado, Zach Fascioni at Wake Forest, the talented stir from Virginia, Kristen Wachtel, and then you have Rohan Asfal, and then some youth for Notre Dame, Carter Solomon, like the rest of the Fighting Irish, many of them getting their first taste of an ACC championship.
Carter Solomon, and then the great story, Isaiah Sturry, who was born in Ethiopia, came to this country when he was adopted from a couple parents in Indiana in 2013. Spoke no English when he came to this country, but achieved enough academically to get it admitted to Notre Dame, which is no easy feat in itself. So, yes, Sturry and Carter Solomon will be the big hopes for Notre Dame after, again, losing the likes of Dylan Jacobs and others that were just dominant for the Fighting Irish the last few years.
At Notre Dame last year, Dylan Jacobs was the runner-up in this event. Danny Kilray placed 4th. Yared Naguse 5th. All those guys gone, so the question becomes, can Notre Dame reload? Here is that backstretch area, probably the roughest terrain that they're going to experience throughout the morning.
Yes, and they just took the big dip on the course, and then they kind of it pops right back up again. So it's a little challenging on your thighs when you go down quickly and then have to come back up. And there's a second dip. There's 2 of them on this backstretch. And here you see this is a little bit of a steep uphill section here, probably the steepest uphill section on the course. And right now you see a couple Pittsburgh runners in the yellow and blue mixed up with some front runners from Florida State. So maybe not who you'd expect to be up at the front early. And again, the question is, where are they going to be later in the race? And you see an incredibly tight pack. I would say there's 80 runners all within 5 seconds of each other right now. So lots to still unfold. We're extremely early into this race.
Virginia right now with 3 of their runners up near the front. The Cavaliers ranked 13th in the country. Justin Wachtel, the sophomore. Yassine Sato, the talented junior from Aurora, Colorado. Rohan Aspaw, he's the most experienced runner for the Cavaliers. The 5th year out of Rockville, Maryland. Those are some of the names that Vin Lanana is hoping can carry the Cavaliers today on their home course.
And as we round this turn, we're approaching the 1 mile mark. And there it is. There's the 1 mile marker, and they're passing in roughly 4:29, 4:30. So that is pretty quick on a course like this. So they're out rolling. And again, Virginia, look at them. They're 1, 2, 3, and I see a 4th runner right behind. So Virginia, who has kind of laid low this season, is trying to make a statement here a little on the early side. And again, they've been saying that they're going to hold back. So if this is holding back, they're going to have a great day.
Well, you knew Vin Lanana would have some tricks up his sleeve. His teams at Stanford and Oregon combined to win 11 NCAA team titles. When you look at his success in track and field and cross country, year number 4 in Charlottesville. And you know, one thing watching Virginia in some of the earlier meets, they always run a tight pack. A 4-6 spread in Boston earlier this year.
Yeah, 4.6 seconds separating 1 through 5 at the Battle of Beantown in Boston. They've run controlled races up to this point. Looks like they're taking the wraps off for today, though, a little bit. And there you see, there's 4 of them right together. And you see a blonde gentleman named Porter in the middle of that pack. He's run sub 4 minutes in the mile. So he's a very talented, but he's only run in the top 6 for them so far this year. So you got to think he's run a great 3,000 on the track, that Wes Porter could be another guy that'll help for Virginia, along with Wachtel and Will Anthony.
2K splits coming in. Wachtel of Virginia, 5:42. His teammate Will Anthony, Feargal Curtin of Florida State right now, also with the 5:42, and the Seminoles with a kind of a new looking team this year. You take a look at what they lost from last year, the great Adrian Vilscoot, who was the ACC champion, and then Ahmed Muhammad, who placed 3rd. So they're looking at the graduate student, Feargal Curtin, to try to fill the void his first year in Tallahassee after having a successful run at Charleston Southern.
He was 3rd in the Southeast region last fall for Charleston Southern, which makes him a guy who beat a lot of ACC runners in the Southeast region. The Southeast region is dominated by ACC schools. So again, that one credential alone, 3rd in the Southeast region last year for Feargal Curtin, puts him in the middle of it. And there you can see, right in the center next to some Notre Dame runners. Now we're seeing Notre Dame starting to show its cards a little bit. There's Carter Solomon. There's Isaiah Sturry on the far left. So Notre Dame, Virginia right now looking like they're 1 and 2 in the team race. And Wake Forest is also in there strongly. So that's who I would think would be the 3 most likely teams to win. Either Notre Dame, Virginia, or Wake Forest. So that 5:45 split at 2K, that's a good split at 2K on a 10K track race. And for a rolling cross-country course, it's pretty quick. You'd expect, with good conditions, they're going to run fast. But again, this is going to be, I think, a tremendous race to watch. Now they're coming around the turn at the bottom of the loop, and they're going to very soon get close to that starting line area. And there's Notre Dame, 1, 2, 3 now. And there's a UNC runner. Is that Parker Wolf? It's hard to tell. And then you've got the Virginia runners right in there as well. So very tight team race right now. 8:05 in. We got about a minute, less than a minute to the 3K mark.
It's interesting, Norm, when you look at this course, compare it to last year in South Bend. This is a different type of surface for footing than what these runners experienced a year ago at the ACC Championships.
Notre Dame was held on the Burke Golf Course, which is a flat, green-like surface. Here today, they're in the rough. They're not on the putting green. So, the foot placement is tough and tricky. And here's your 3K mark right here, about 8:40 at 3K. So they just ran that last kilometer in roughly 3 flat. So they've slowed down a little bit in that last part of the course. But there were a lot of turns in that last part of the course too. So that's not too far in. And even 3 flat for a single K would be, a 30-minute 10K or a 25 flat 8K. But they've definitely slowed the pace down. There you go. Carter Solomon a little bit in the lead. That was Parker Wolf running for UNC. Trying to impress former UNC alum Jim Beatty, sitting at home in Charlottesville watching this race on his 88th birthday.
Carter Solomon, the sophomore from Canton, Michigan. He was a 2-time All-American, Mr. Cross Country in the state of Michigan in 2019. Really talked about the experience he had his senior year of high school. He won the cross country championship, but COVID denied him the chance to win spring track titles before he began his trek to South Bend. Notre Dame looking solid right now. The Fighting Irish with 41 points. This is through the 3K split. Virginia sitting second. Wake Forest, obviously with closing speed, still a threat, sitting in the number 3 spot.
Right, those top 3 teams right where we expected them to be. And you'll be halfway at 4K in about 500 meters from now. And you see a little bit of separation now in that lead group. It was 80 guys clustered all together about 5 minutes ago. And now 10 minutes in, it's starting to stretch out just a little bit. For Parker Wolf, he's a Colorado native. And last year, he was the only All-American at the NCAA meet who was a true freshman. So that kind of puts his talent in perspective. He trained 80 miles per week this summer in Colorado. Not the most. Some of these athletes out here are running 100 miles a week. But Coach Chris Miltenberg of UNC feels 80 miles per week for a guy who just turned 19 in July is plenty. And it seems to be working very well.
We talked about this being such a spectator-friendly course, and you can see the crowd as these runners make their way back along the second inside loop here, so they get to watch them on the straightaway at the start, and then they just have to wander over a few steps to catch them right back here coming back on the loop.
And without making a whole lot of effort, you're going to be able to see a whole lot of this race if you're a spectator, and that's going to make for a great NCAA meet here in 2023 as well. And there you see Faccioni of Wake Forest. He's their veteran leader. He's now taken the lead. And he's got a couple teammates right behind him. Las Harris and Van Oppen. Tom Van Oppen, a great 1,500-meter runner, immediately to Faccioni's right. And Wake Forest maybe feeling this is the good time to kind of get it in gear and start putting the pressure. I think the Virginia team slipped back just a little bit.
And John Hayes told us, the head coach for Wake Forest, he has never had a team run well in the month of September, but he felt this team was starting to to put it all together, ready to make some noise, starting with these ACC championships. And the leader of this program over the last 5 years since he arrived from Sydney, Australia, has been Zach Faccioni.
Absolutely. And now Wake at the 4K split has 4 runners in the top 10, with their 4th man, Luke Tewalt, just moving into 10th. And Luke Tewalt is an outstanding middle distance runner who can move up to 5,000, and obviously he can run a good 8K as well. So that's Wake Forest's probably 4 best guys, and they're all in the top 10 right now. Look at that, 29 points if the race ended halfway. Notre Dame 85. NC State moving into the 3rd position with 111, and North Carolina now with 113. As you see, Virginia has slipped back considerably.
You mentioned Luke Tewalt, part of the montage of Wake Forest runners near the front. He's the youngest guy on their active roster, as he was the All-ACC performer last year in the spring outdoor season, placing 6th in the 1,500 meters. Participant in the NCAA championships in cross country last year. Just a dominant high school run. He won 9 state titles in track and field. Grew up around the Washington, D.C. area, and he has blended in well with veterans such as Faccioni, Aaron Las Harris, and then Thomas Van Oppen. And right now, that Wake punch making a statement.
Yeah, Aaron Las Harris was the top Wake runner back on the 24th of September in Stillwater. They went out there to investigate the course where the NCAAs will be held on this fall. Then there was a little concern because when they came back here to Panorama Farms to go head-to-head with Virginia back on the 15th of October, Las Harris did not compete, and the reason that was he got an infected blister, and he had to miss 2 or 3 days of training. But Coach John Hayes assured us that Las Harris is more than ready to go and excited to lead along with Faccioni as the veterans on this Wake Forest Demon Deacon team.
The track and field season is such a long one. You factor in the cross country for the distance runners, and Faccioni is a guy who just had a puzzling race in Stillwater to start the year at the Cowboy Jamboree, and it was interesting to see Coach Hayes and hear his reaction. The two looked at each other and just said, hey, throw that race out, let's start over again.
Yeah, plus the fact that he was running 95 to 100 miles a week. Coach Hayes is a big believer in keeping full volume as long as possible. So he feels, and they say at Wake Forest, they try and view this really as the season opener of the ACC meet, because their big goal is the national meet in Stillwater 3 weeks from now. There's Las Harris. Obviously, his blister is healed and fine, leading at 5K, going through the 5K in 14:29. Antonio Lopez Segura in 2nd now. We'll remember he anchored Virginia Tech to the winning ACC DMR indoors, and has had a great career at Virginia Tech. Probably one of the few bright spots we expect to see for the Hokies today. But he's in the mix right now.
Ian Shanklin, North Carolina State. He has worked himself into the top 10 as well. As you take through 5K and look at the team standings, Wake 36, North Carolina, headlined by Parker Wolf, sitting in the number 2 spot. Notre Dame 3rd, and then Brian Bell and Syracuse 4th.
Yes, so it looks like the aggressive early running by both Notre Dame and Virginia has hurt them somewhat. And North Carolina and Wake have moved up very nicely. So 36 to 95 right now. Wake is dominating, but Virginia's got a long way to come back from 6th.
Key stretch right here as they head off into the one wooded area of this course, and this is where you're going to see a couple of steep inclines and then a dramatic decline as well.
Right, they just went up the incline. Now on the first loop out, they went in the opposite direction, so they're seeing this backstretch now in the opposite direction. So the downhill became an uphill, and now they're heading back towards that hairpoint part of the course. And when they get to that hairpin turn, they'll be at 6K. So they still got a little bit, 150 meters to go until the 6K mark. And that'll, of course, mean they're 3/4 of the way through this race. And now here a Notre Dame runner, it must be Carter Solomon. Looks like and Parker Wolf are into the lead now. So Wake Wake is still winning the team race, but they're not up at the front 3 positions, although Faccioni is still sticking it in there. So it is Solomon, Wolf, Lopez Segura, and Faccioni in your top 4 positions. As we round the 6K, you're going to see the 6K marker come up with a sign right there. That's 6K. They hit it about 17:20, so that was a quicker last kilometer.
Solomon of Notre Dame, your leader. Wolf on his heels, sitting second. Las Harris of Wake Forest up near the top 3. Shanklin, the tall figure in black on the inside for North Carolina State. He's starting to make up ground, and that has kind of been how he has worked throughout his years in Raleigh. Known for his come-from-behind prowess, Shanklin was the ACC runner-up back in 2020, so he knows what it takes to get close to winning an ACC title.
Yes, he does. Solomon, Wolf, Faccioni now running 1, 2, 3. Pretty much about what we expected coming in. And now one Virginia runner still sticking his nose in the front pack. But his teammates have dropped back quite a bit. So it's down really to Wake and UNC at this point. And Solomon saying, if Notre Dame can't win the team title, I'm going to take the individual title. And right now, he's really throwing the hammer down, trying to break Wolf and Faccioni. Carter Solomon, you know, when you come into a program and you've had guys like Dylan Jacobs to train with, and then he's suddenly gone, you have to have a big chunk of confidence in yourself to decide, I'm going to be the next big guy, big dog for Notre Dame. And Carter Solomon is doing just that right now. By the way, Carter Solomon is under the leadership, of course, of the Notre Dame coach, Matt Sparks, who has been the Notre Dame women's coach for a number of years. But Coach Sparks hired Chris Neal from a Strong Furman program to help him out a great deal with the men's distance runners. And Neal's connection with Sparks goes back to when they were both coaches at Ohio State. Sparks did tell us that Notre Dame has looked great this fall. They haven't had a workout where we've struggled all fall, he told us. And right now, Carter Solomon seems to be benefiting from that training. Carter Solomon, Parker Wolf, 1, 2, Faccioni third.
Solomon right now, your leader for Notre Dame. Wolf just on the outside shoulder. Solomon went out for cross country in 6th grade, did not have a lot of success at first. In fact, he went out for basketball instead of cross country in the 7th grade year, but then everything changed when he returned to cross country, and you see the numbers he put up, the 2-time All-American, 4-time All-State selection. And right now in the runner-up spot as Wolf has overtaken him, Wake Forest, Las Harris still sitting third. So Las Harris for the Demon Deacons, and a distant third.
Luke Tuwalt moving up into 4th overall for Wake Forest. That's a great race for that young man.
So now they go with the wider of the 2 loops as we are getting closer to the finish line. Wolf into the front spot, Solomon second, Aaron Las Harris of Wake third, and then Tuwalt right now sitting 4th.
Yeah, a big surprise with this race for Tuwalt. Segura also running extremely well. Now in 7th place, leading Syracuse is Nathan Lawler. He's one of 3 Lawler's siblings in this race. He has a brother, Sam, who's a freshman, and a sister, Eleanor, who'll be running in the women's race a little later today. So 3 Lawlers in the mix, and one of them right in the top 10 now. So look at that. See, Syracuse has moved into 3rd place overall. Syracuse really coming on well here in the end of the race. Now we're sweeping past the finish line into the last kilometer of the race. In fact, we're into the last about 500 meters right now.
It's going to be really intriguing to see the straightaway right now for Solomon and Wolf, but they are going to make one more turn to the right, and immediately they're going to hit really the last hilly portion of this course, and we'll see how they handle it with an ACC title on the line. Wolf, your leader, Solomon, Notre Dame second.
Yeah, Wolf looks good. He's gone to his arms and he's lifting, and right now I think he's got this race. Now you're going to make this right turn, like you said. You're going to go down first before you get the uphill. There it is. There it is. Look at he's pumping his arm. He looks great. Parker Wolf, well on his way to the ACC title. Does Solomon have any answer for him? If anything's going to come, it's going to be in this last uphill right here. And here's the uphill. Wolf looks good.
So does Solomon, still kicking in the number 2 spot. Now Solomon trying to put it in to a higher gear.
Solomon looks good. Here he comes on the uphill. When we reach the post, there'll be about 50 meters to go. Wolf and Solomon, what a finish this is going to be. Wolf, Solomon.
It becomes a sprint for the ACC championship. Will it be North Carolina or Notre Dame? Parker Wolf, the sophomore, your leader. One late push by Solomon. The long strides. He overtakes Wolf. Solomon across the line. He's your ACC champion.
22:55 on this course. That is phenomenal. Great running. I never expected anyone to run 23 in this meet, sub 23. And there you go, Las Harris and Luke Tawal in 3rd and 4th. That may have gotten Wake. And there's Fagioni. I think Wake is going to win the team title, but we'll have to wait and see. There's Lopez Segura coming across. There's Sato from Virginia, Porter from Virginia, some Florida State runners, your first Louisville runner. And there's a hurting Duke runner going to the ground. All these runners coming in well under 24 minutes. Really fast race out there today.
Perfect conditions here in Earlysville, Virginia, and the times reflecting a 22:55.9, the championship time, and the late kick from Carter Solomon and Notre Dame out-dueling Parker Wolf in the final few meters. Wolf, the runner-up, 22:56.10. Aaron Las Harris of Wake. Take a look at the Demon Deacons, 3, 4, and 5 with Las Harris, Tawalt, and Van Oppen. Ian Shanklin, 6th place, 23:12.70.
This is quite amazing running. These guys are still coming in at 24:30, and they're well back in the field. Nice crowd here in Earlysville today to witness this great running. Here's the Notre Dame team. They're probably slightly disappointed they did not win the ACCs this year, but a tremendous team performance turned in by Wake Forest and Coach John Hunter.
When we come back to Virginia, a conversation with this year's ACC champion, Carter Solomon, the sophomore from Canton, Michigan. Really had all the indicators that he was a serious threat for a run at the ACC title this fall. He had the strong showing at Nuttycombe. And now jubilation for the Fighting Irish and Carter Solomon. Your ACC champion, 22:55.90. We'll hear from the young ACC champion as our coverage continues. The late kick from Solomon, able to power his way past Wolf. Notre Dame back to the top. ACC glory. Top 21 men's finishers earn all ACC recognition. Carter Solomon, this year's ACC champ, 22:55.90. Parker Wolf, your runner-up, with a 22:56.10. And we're now joined by Carter Solomon. We've allowed him to catch his breath after that late kick. First off, Carter, an amazing finish. Take us through the final few meters as you raced your way to your first ACC title.
Yeah, last few meters is where, the race is made in my head. I know about a K to go, it was just him and I, and he kind of went with about 400 meters to go. And I thought, just stay close enough where I give myself a chance to get him with about 100 to go. And thankfully I left just enough. I was able to catch him, so, yeah.
Carter, fantastic job. My thought was, with the final little hill, that maybe all that time in Colorado was going to help out. Did you feel that the hill was the key finish point, or is it just the sprint strength that you had from all the training you've done?
I think it's the hills. In South Bend, we work on our hills, and you know that's what our coach preaches: 10 hard steps at the top of a hill. And just took that to heart today. I know that hill was right before the finish, and it was a good spot, I think, for the style that I race. So I definitely used that to my advantage today.
How much communication did you have with some of the former greats at Notre Dame? I mean, you look at what your team lost from a year ago: Dylan Jacobs, Danny Kilray, Yared Naguse. What's your relationship like with some of those former Irish runners?
Yeah, so Danny's still in South Bend. He's helping out with the team. Yard's visited a couple times, you know, stay in touch with him. But I talked to Dylan Jacobs a lot still. He was a really good mentor last year. Last year was kind of a rough year for myself running-wise. And he was great in terms of being a leader and, you know, picking me up. So we keep in touch a lot. So I really appreciate our relationship.
Well, Carter, congratulations once again. We'll let you go enjoy it. You are an ACC champion.
Thank you. And everyone in South Bend, hello. Love the support, you guys. Thank you.
Great story. Carter Solomon coming from behind to win the ACC title. Let's now focus on the men's race and Wake Forest. You talk about balance. That's what they were able to deliver as the Demon Deacons go 3rd, 4th, 5th, 8th, and 24th. 44 points. John Hayes, an ACC title. Wake wins their first men's title since 1994. Syracuse 2nd, and North Carolina 3rd with the 87 points.
Tremendous team effort. There's Coach John Hayes. He should feel really good. That's his first ACC title as a coach. And the Demon Deacons delivering on their potential with a lot of veteran leadership. And now we're going to talk with John Hayes and his team.
There is a bunch of smiles with the Demon Deacons on this Friday morning. John Hayes and Wake Forest, your men's champion, the first ACC title for the men since 1994. And Coach, take us through the emotions here of the past 20, 25 minutes as you watch this race unfold.
I got a little nervous with how we got out, but the guys looked composed. They moved to the front. The pace was a little faster than I thought it would be, so when we moved to the front, it kind of broke up the pack, and the guys executed tremendously, and obviously I'm super proud of all of them. They really fought hard.
Yeah, John, this is Norm Ogilvie. Super proud of the way your team executed today. They really did a good job. How about Luke Tawal and his great race? Luke coming up big with the
he ran tremendously. Yeah, he ran tremendously. I'm just proud of all the guys. They ran as a team. They practiced as a team. They're just a tremendous group of guys, and we've been not so good. And so these guys have understand the path to success, and I'm super proud of all of them.
You know, you look at your team and you have a nice blending of veterans with some of the youth and the younger guys that stepped up. But I want to key in on Zach Faccioni and Aaron Les Harris and Thomas Van Oppen, some of the veterans. What's this mean for them, you know, to cap it off with an ACC title this year?
Oh, I'm sure they're super pumped. You can ask them. They're just tremendous. They've been great leaders. I'm just so proud of all the guys.
Coach, enjoy the moment. Congratulations, Wake Forest, your ACC champions here in 2022.
Thank you. Go Deeks. Go Deeks.
Well, we knew this was going to be a wild race. So much parity on the men's side, the top conference in college cross country, and it did not disappoint. When we come back, a conversation with the ACC Commissioner, Jim Phillips. He joins us from Earlysville. halfway through this year's edition of the ACC Cross Country Championships. The men's race is in the books. The women will take to the field in just a few moments. Commissioner Jim Phillips is on site. This is the start of a very busy fall championship run. And Commissioner, I can't think of a better location to be a Friday morning in Central Virginia, enjoying the landscape of the Blue Ridge Mountains and some great competition.
What an unbelievable race. I mean, how about the performances of Solomon and Wolf all the way down to the stretch? Two great competitors. Congratulations to Wake Forest on their championship, ACC Men's Cross Country Championship, but a spectacular venue, as both of you have been describing this morning. It's hard to imagine a better place to have our championship, and I think these student athletes are looking forward to not only today's race, but a year from now when the NCAA championships are held here. So just a beautiful day here in Virginia, and many thanks to the University of Virginia for their hosting, because it takes a lot of work, and their crew of administrators have been here, and so hats off to them and the ACC staff.
You take a look at what the ACC has been able to do with the Olympic sports this fall. Entering these cross-country championships, 6 teams were ranked either first or second in their respective sports, and we're just moments away from seeing one of those top-ranked teams at the NC State women. So a great start like we're used to seeing from this conference.
No question. You're looking at a conference that won 7 national championships last year, including a national championship for women's cross country from NC State. No other FBS conference had more championships than the ACC. So as you recited those number 1 and 2 rankings in the country, it's reflective of the amazing student athletes, the amazing teams and programs that we have. If you look at the sport of cross country, 7 nationally ranked men's teams. We're getting ready to watch 5 nationally ranked teams on the women's side. You look at field hockey, all 7 ACC teams are ranked in the top 25. We have 11 soccer teams between the men and women ranked in the top 25. So this has been a conference of championships, and this fall is no different.
Coach Norm Ogilvie, who was a Olympic revenue coach in the ACC for a long time, we didn't get television coverage like this of the Olympic Sports Championships. I want to thank you on behalf of all of the ACC Olympic sport coaches for this kind of exposure. It's great for recruiting, and it, I think, makes the conference better when these kids get the chance to run on a live television.
No question, Coach. First of all, let me just say thanks on behalf of the ACC and all the student athletes that you touch, whether they were at Duke or anywhere else. You are a legend in the conference, and we continue to stand on your shoulders. But listen, our student athletes, 10,000 strong in the ACC, deserve to have a platform like the ACC Network. So we're honored and proud to produce these games and to televise these games, or really send a shout out to Jeremy Michaels and our friends at the ACC Network, because we have some great stories to tell, and it's a sport that is ever growing, and this is just another chance for our brand, the ACC, to showcase the best runners in the country. And I've always believed that there's an awful lot of attention given to football student athletes and basketball student athletes, and rightly so, but these student athletes, in this particular case, cross country, aren't any less committed or any less dedicated than any other student athlete. So again, just a wonderful opportunity to showcase them and give them a chance to perform on the biggest stage on a national audience when you think about the ACC Network being in nearly 90 million homes.
Well, Commissioner, it's always great to see you at so many events. I know you have a busy weekend in Charlottesville. Football tomorrow at Scott Stadium. Enjoy that, and we look forward to talking to you in the near future.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate you and Norm, and we're looking forward to a great women's race coming up.
Commissioner Jim Phillips on hand, catching some of the action. One of the runners you won't want to miss, Caitlin Toohey, getting ready, loose, cranked up. NC State looking to keep the dynasty. It's all North Carolina State. You take a look at who has dominated this conference in cross country on the women's side. The Wolfpack of NC State looking for their 7th consecutive title, fresh off the program's first NCAA women's cross country championship last fall. One of their main leaders is Caitlin Toohey. We had a moment to catch up with Lori Ennis, the longtime Wolfpack coach, to talk about her special start.
When she came into college, she had been injured at the end of high school and didn't get to train much her first whole semester here. And so working back to that has been a process, and she's just been amazing. And, it's not easy for 18, 19-year-olds to have a lot of patience at times, and she's been able to do that. And I think her big breakthrough came in like the NCAA indoors last year when she finished second in both events. And so I think that, since that time, it's kind of been on a roll, and I think she's been getting better and better.
Just being surrounded by people that kind of have that similar drive and competitive edge, it kind of just makes us all super competitive, and you're a product of the people you surround yourself with. So being surrounded by powerful women every day at practice, I think kind of separates us from the rest.
We'll meet Toohey and the rest of her Wolfpack teammates along with the rest of the field. The women's 6K moments away here on the ACC Network. Championship season is here Sunday. The ACC Women's Soccer Championship gets underway with first-round matches at 6 and 8 Eastern from Cary, North Carolina. Then Tuesday, the field hockey quarterfinals begin. Games starting at 1, 3:30, and 6. ACC Network, the home of the ACC Championships. Cross country, the first fall championship of the year. North Carolina State won this event last year with 20 points. Good look at one of their leaders, and Caitlin Toohey, as the gun is up. And we are underway with the women's championship. NC State, the heavy favorite on paper, Coach. But give me some other teams that can maybe push them over the next 20 minutes.
Well, the most logical choice would be the 6th-ranked team in the nation, Notre Dame, coached by Matt Sparks, now for his 5th season, although he's just taken over the men. They're led by Olivia Markovich. She's led them at both Nutty Comb and their home meet at Notre Dame. She's a junior. She's very, very good. And then the other team that would probably be most likely to push them would be the University of North Carolina. They're led by a bunch of sophomores. In fact, I think their top 5 are all sophomores. And with a sophomore head coach in Dylan Sorensen. He's now the head man at UNC for his 2nd consecutive year. But Bryn Brown of UNC, who had been their top runner the previous 2 meets this year, got injured in Wisconsin, and Dylan Sorensen, in an abundance of caution, has decided to not run her in this meet. But he assures us that she's back training and she'll be more than ready at the regionals and the NCAAs. However, that gives UNC even longer odds of upsetting the NC State apple cart. Just don't see that happening.
Yeah, and it was kind of a fluke accident with Brown. She was kicked in the knee. It swelled up on the plane trip home. So as Norm said, they're going to go with some caution here this morning. Runners to watch: Caitlin Toohey, Kelsey Camille, who was the champion last year for North Carolina State. And then they have Sam Bush. Those 3 expected to be in the top 5. No Bryn Brown today. And then Duke with a youngster that's hoping to make an impact with Anima Maytu.
Yeah, she is a real find this year. She, at the Lehigh meet, she finished 2nd overall, was the top ACC finisher against schools like UNC. And her big stat, basically, is she has a 2:03 800 PR, which is really good. That'll make her one of the favorites for the 800 on the track in the ACC. But usually a runner can't go all the way up to 6K from the 800. That did not stop her at Lehigh, because that was a 6K race, and she came back with another 6K in Wisconsin. So she could be a factor in the individual race, but a little too much for the Duke team to overcome. So we really think NC State's got this. And then, the best pressure will come from the Notre Dame women or perhaps the North Carolina women.
So let's take a look at this course. A little bit different for the women with the 6K, but the long straightaway out of the start. Now they get ready to enter the curve and go into the wooded area where we are going to see a couple of slopes.
Yes, I mean, the course is basically the 3K loop twice. So it's very much like the men's. Here's the first turn. and they've just going to go past the 1K right there. That's the 1K mark. And now they're going to go into that tricky part of the course with the downhill. We see the two Notre Dame runners out front with Tui mixing it up in there. But they have put quite a bit of distance on the field already. So an early breakaway. The men's field was much tighter at this point of the race. And again, right here is this little downhill section. And they're charging down right now. We'll have to be able to identify both of the Notre Dame runners. I'm sure one is Mark Siskevich, and the other one's probably Anna Sophia Keller, based on meets earlier this year.
Last year was such a special year for the Wolfpack. They won the NCAA championship, scored an impressive 84 points to win their first NCAA cross-country title in program history. In fact, it was the first NCAA title by an ACC women's team since Virginia won it back-to-back in 81 and 82.
That's right. And Virginia hosted an NCAA championship back in those years as well. Long time ago. But anyway, we're going to confirm that is Marcinkevich and Keller out front along with Tui making up our top three right now. However, you can see from this drone shot a bunch of white jerseys on the right side of the chase pack, and that's all NC State runners. They're in fine position for this team title. They're just letting Tui do battle with the two top runners from Notre Dame. Notre Dame may be looking for a sweep of ACC individual titles as Carter Solomon for the Fighting Irish won the men's race just 20 minutes ago.
They are really high on Olivia Markozic, the junior from Woodinville, Washington, the Bear Creek School, and coming off a really solid showing this past outdoor championship season. She won the steeplechase, and it's an interesting story with Olivia. She was actually introduced to the steeplechase event by her father, Ron, and it was rare because you look up at the Pacific Northwest, in particular the state of Washington, that's not a sanctioned event with high school track teams up there, and her father didn't know a lot about it, but her athleticism, her endurance, her work ethic, all those factors led into the decision, hey, let's try the steeplechase. She learned how to hurdle, and wouldn't you know it, 24 months later, she's an ACC champion in the event.
Yeah, that is becoming more unusual, where you haven't had the fact that you have to introduce the steeplechase to a lot of athletes. It's not run in a whole lot of states across the country, but it is getting larger and larger acceptance at the high school level. And so now I guess it would be more common to try and recruit a true steeplechaser. But either way, I think one person said once that steeplechase was plastic cross country, and that you need a lot of the same skills of endurance, speed, and athleticism in both of those sports. So not a surprise that a good cross country runner can also be a good steeplechaser. And now the whole pack seems to be closing in a little bit. We see in the pink from Duke, and running in about 6th place is Anamina Matu, so she is not backing down. And the rest of the Wolfpack is still within striking range.
Markozic, your leader for Notre Dame, Tui of NC State second, and then another runner from Notre Dame, Shona Chisholm, in the number 3 spot, the sophomore from Nova Scotia. 6:25 for Chisholm, Tui with that same time. Markozic a second faster. Chisholm this past summer was a double gold medal winner at the Bell Canadian Track and Field Championships held in Langley, British Columbia. That was the U20 division, and you don't see a double gold medal winner at those U20 championships too often, but that's what Chisholm was able to do. And an early factor here through the first 2K for the Fighting Irish. NC State, your leader, Notre Dame second, Virginia sitting third, and the Cavaliers with some talent for Vin Lanana when you look at Margot Appleton, Mia Barnett, the excellent mile runner, and then Cameron Menninger, the transfer from New York University.
Vin Lanana has told us that he has a very holistic approach towards cross country, and that at the end of the day, he's a track guy at heart, so he sees cross country as a season to get in great shape and set up a great track season later on. However, Virginia teams have run really well in cross country, so it's not like they're waving the white flag. If Virginia can run great today, they couldn't be a factor. Right now, though, the Notre Dame looks pretty good with 3 in the top 5. They're going to give State maybe a little more pressure than they were expecting, but I would think NC State still, actually Notre Dame there, yeah, 3 in the top 6. And then there's some Virginia runners there. I'd see maybe Virginia may be first in with their 5th man. Very interesting team races, a lot more competitive than we were expecting. Tui's right there. You think Tui probably has been the best runner in the country so far this year on the women's side, so she's probably within herself. And Camille certainly can close the gap. And then we have Emma Vandenberg from Florida State also in the mix. So you've got Tui, the 2 Notre Dame runners, Camille, Emma Vandenberg of Florida State, and Anima Matug of Duke in your top 6.
For the first time, Caitlin Tui working her way into the lead spot, really parallel, shoulder to shoulder with Notre Dame. Tui won the Nutty Comb, the prestigious pre-tournament event, if you will, in the state of Wisconsin back on October 14th. In fact, it was Tui and Camille who went 1-2 on that particular day.
And Tui also won the Notre Dame Invitational, so she is unbeaten this year in cross country. And just based on the way she looked at Wisconsin, it would be a real upset if Marzakevich could take it to her. But there's still a decent amount of running left. They haven't hit the 2 mile yet.
Caitlin Tui won the NCAA 5,000 meter championship this past spring. 2nd straight year that North Carolina State has won that particular event. And local media talking with Tui after it, and she said the NCAA team cross country championship was more surreal than the individual title. And that's the team aspect that a lot of fans don't realize go into cross country. As you take a look at the 3K splits, Tui and Markovic shoulder to shoulder, Camille and Chisholm the same story, and then Vandenberg and Matug of Duke at 9:42. But going back to Tui, it was not an easy NCAA championship for her last year. She actually fell in the race. The team had another runner, Hannah Steelman, who had a spider bite. It got infected. It was a real mess heading in, but they did not let that detour them with their possible run and eventual title at the NCAAs.
And I think that's just a testament to the incredible culture Laurie Hennis has built up at NC State over the years. You know, they have lots of people who are all in and people who stay invested for a long time. We have a couple 6-year runners competing for them today. People on the Wolfpack team, the Wolfpack women, have done an incredible job. And it dates back even longer to the head coach Raleigh Geiger, who got the thing rolling many, many years ago and had runners like Joan Benoit Samuelson on the Wolfpack squad. You know, all she did is win a gold medal in the marathon in the Olympics. Lots of history in the NC State program.
Here comes Kelsey Camille for the first time as they enter the back area for the 2nd time down the steep slope. Camille sitting 3rd. Notre Dame, Markovic right now your runner-up spot behind Tui. Markovic finished 12th last year at these ACC championships, and it was so interesting. She came back, was an All-American at the NCAA. She placed 11th at Nationals.
Yeah, the Notre Dame coach, Matt Sparks, mentioned the fact that at Nationals last year, Notre Dame finished 9th and 11th, and because of Tui's fall, through their Notre Dame's first 2 runners, they had 20 points, and NC State had 21. So, you know, they were kind of the top 2, the Notre Dame runners were the top 2 lowest combined scores in the NCAA meet. However, we score 5 in this thing, and we'll see. I'm anxious to get a team score update because we do see Notre Dame there with 3 in the top 6, but now that State is 1-2, that's got to help.
Kelsey Camille, the senior from Sarasota Springs, New York, the defending ACC champion. Such good friends with a runner to her side, Caitlin Tui. Those two are so competitive, but the one area they're not competitive, Laurie Hennis told us, is racing one another. They will battle in board games and cooking contests, baking contests among the Wolfpack team members, but on the race course, such good friends, build off each other, and really rely on one another.
They said it was a fantastic scene at Nutty Comb just 2 weeks ago. when Tui ran a fantastic race. Camille was second, but the PA announcer had mistakenly been calling an Oklahoma State runner instead, and all the Wolfpackers were saying, nope, that's Camille in second. And indeed, it was a 1-2 finish at the biggest gathering of nationally ranked teams in the regular season, the Nutty-Co meet. And they're just pulling away now. I mean, this is over. It's either Tui or Camille for the ACC title. Kind of how we thought it would go. But Notre Dame still hanging on to third and fourth, and then they got their third runner ahead of State's third runner. So it'll be an interesting team battle. But the top two, it's over. These girls are too strong. They will continue to move away. Matug has moved up as, just the sophomore into fifth for Duke, living up to her potential, especially as a 2:03 half miler. She's in that bright pink top that you can see coming around the corner, or maybe not. Our NC State runners are running so fast that the fifth place runner's out of the shot now. And actually, Matug has just moved into fourth. So it's NC State 1 and 2, Notre Dame 3, Matug 4th, and then Notre Dame 5th and 6th.
Matug, the sophomore for Duke, 19 years old, young runner. She'll turn 20 in less than a month. But she arrived in Durham, one of the premier Dutch middle distance runners. U20 national cross country champion a year ago, also an 800-meter national champion, and having a pretty solid go at it. As you see her in the pink, sitting in the number 4 spot. Notre Dame 5 and 6. So the Fighting Irish right now 3rd, 5th, and 6th as they look to try to dent NC State's hopes of a 7th consecutive team title.
It's going to be interesting. Again, the team individual winners down to these two ladies up front, but what's going on in the 4th and 5th positions for NC State and the Fighting Irish? We'll try and get that information for you. They'll be coming up soon on the 5K mark, and that means it'll only be 1K to go. So we're getting towards the end of this race. As they head back now towards the starting line one final time. They'll go behind the starting line and then head up for the final finish. And now Tui doing what everybody thought she'd do. Start to pull away for an ACC title in cross country. Remember, it was Camille who won this race last year.
Lori Hennis talked about Caitlin Tui and her turning point, the indoor in 2022, where she was a runner-up in both the 3,000 and the 5,000 meters. Stony Point, New York, won 3 New York State cross-country championships, and she just keeps getting better and better in Raleigh, the 6-time All-American. She has all 3 covered, the indoor, the outdoor, and now here in cross-country as they go 1-2. NC State Tui, Camille 2nd.
And they are just opening up lots of ground. They both look phenomenal. And here's the wider turn that they take. And as soon as they make this 180 here, they'll start the straightaway behind the start line. And then you're talking of only about 500 meters to go. There's the Notre Dame runner in 3rd. And she's put a bunch of distance now on 4th and 5th as well. All right, we're going to get some splits for you back from 5K. There you see Tui at 16:06 at 5K.
Katie Thronson into the mix for the first time, the Tennessee transfer.
Thornson's talented. She's run 5K in 15:58 and 4:39 in the mile, so she's got really good track credentials.
Tui in control, pulling away from her teammate Camille as they'll enter this turn, and then they'll go into one more slopey, angular part of the track before they hit the straightaway in the final few meters for the finish. As NC State with a narrow lead on Notre Dame. A point separates the Wolfpack and the Irish.
Look at that. So it's going to come down to 4th and 5th runners for both teams. I knew it would be tight when you've got 1-2 for one team, but then the next team has their next 3 runners in. It's going to really tighten. Virginia's moved into 3rd as well, the home team. Trying to come up with a 3rd, and they should be able to pull that off with not much left on the race course. Tui gonna win Actually, her first ACC cross-country title. Although she finished, what, 24th as a freshman in the NCAA.
Here's the downward trek that we described. Around the corner and into the final straightaway enters Caitlin Toohey for North Carolina State. The Wolfpack looking for their third consecutive individual title. Last year it was Camille, but this year, make no mistake about it, the drive of Caitlin Toohey. She let the whole world know what she could do at Nuttycombe, and now here in the ACC Championship, she is going to bring home the title back to Raleigh.
Power personified up that hill, just driving her arms, lifting her knees, opening up her stride. There's this pole, 50 meters to go. And Camille, a solid second. Toohey about to win.
Caitlin Toohey, the junior, steps away, looks up at the clock, in control the entire race, and she is your ACC champ. Across the line, Caitlin Toohey. And now she'll immediately turn and watch one of her best friends come in second. Last year's champion, Kelsey Camille, the silver medalist.
Now let's watch the other runners as they come in. We can try and figure out this team race. Notre Dame with third, and then we expect Matuk here in fourth.
Which is Duke. Keep in mind, a point separated NC State and Notre Dame at the 5K mark.
Oh, it looks like one of the, look at that. Look at that, Bush,
Sam
rallying.
Bush.
That may win it for State. Bush coming from behind to grab fifth. Thorensen sixth. Marzakevich? No.
Chisholm seventh. Notre Dame 8th. So the Fighting Irish able to go 3rd, 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Yeah, the Bush rally may not be enough.
Toohey first, Camille second, Bush ends up 8th. Robert 13th, Corzo 15th for the Wolfpack. 39 for NC State. Notre Dame with Markozich, Thronson, Chisholm, Denner, and Keller. 41 points.
So the Bush rally made the difference for the Wolfpack, edging them out by 2 points.
We knew that NC State had the bullseye, the target on their back, in particular Caitlin Toohey. Everybody chasing her. Nobody could catch her, and that's been the way all season long. Saturday on ACC Network and the ESPN app, Florida State hosts Georgia Tech at noon Eastern. Then it's Wake Forest in Louisville to take on the Cardinals. The day's capped off by our ACC Network primetime matchup. Pitt taking on North Carolina. All the action Saturday on ACC Network and the ESPN app. What a finish here in the women's competition. It came down to the wire with North Carolina State and Notre Dame back and forth.
And once all 7 runners were in, it adjusted the score somewhat. So the final score is NC State 34, Notre Dame 38, Virginia 97. But regardless, a win for the Wolfpack.
7th consecutive title for the NC State women. Here's the individual standings. Toohey wins the title, Camille the runner-up, Markozich and Notre Dame 3rd. They too give Duke goes 4th in her first ACC championship experience. Sam Bush, always so consistent and reliable, 5th. And then the transfer Thronson of Notre Dame in her first ACC cross-country championship. She does not disappoint as she places 6th. Caitlin Toohey now joins us, and first off, congratulations, Caitlin. You're on quite a roll. In the spring, you win the NCAA 5,000 meters, you win the Nuttycombe less than a month ago, and now you win the ACC championship. What's your training been like over these past 6 months to bring these types of results?
Yeah, nothing really has changed. Just been working hard with my teammates. I think it's just the consistency, having a consistent period of training without any major setbacks has kind of just allowed me to progressively get better as time goes on.
Well, Caitlin, you've certainly been the definition of consistency recently. Unbeaten so far. You pulled away from Camille late. How about Samantha Bush's run at the very end to win the team title for you guys?
Oh, we won? I didn't know that. That's great. Yeah, Sam really pushed through past a bunch of people in the last K, I think. And then Brooke Robber, our redshirt freshman, had an amazing race to score for us. So I think, the people that didn't have the best days, others stepped up for them. And I think that's what's so great about our team is that we just have so much depth that if someone has an off day, then someone else can pick up the slack for them. So yeah, super proud of my teammates for pulling through today at the championships.
Caitlin, I want to talk about the team aspect of this sport for what you have been able to accomplish individually and as a team. Last year at the NCAAs, North Carolina State wins the program's first championship. But it wasn't an easy day. You took a fall early in that race, and you talked about the surreal feeling it was to win the team title. So now as you look to defend the title, what's the approach for round 2 for you and the rest of the Wolfpack?
Yeah, I think nothing really changes from last year. Our coaches always say that we're not defending titles, so we're kind of just going into it with the mentality that it's just another championship. So yeah, some similar mindset as last year. Obviously, there is that pressure just because of rankings and stuff, but we try not to focus on it and try to just focusing on executing on the day of the championships.
Well, your execution has been flawless so far. Enjoy the moment. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The top-ranked team in the land does it again. NC State, their 7th consecutive team title. Caitlin Toohey, your individual champion. The hardware is heading back to Raleigh. For the 28th time in the long-standing tradition of NC State women's cross-country, they have added another ACC title. 34 team points for the Wolfpack as they outduel Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, second with 38, Virginia third with 98. Lori Hennish now joins us from Panorama Farms. And first off, Coach, congratulations. When we talked earlier this week, I think you used the word fun maybe 100 times in our 20-minute conversation, and that was describing the relationship that you have with your team and then the relationship they have with one another. Talk about how special that has been. Despite losing some great runners a year ago, you have really loaded successfully.
We have, and I think that, one of the things we talk about all the time in this program is the ability for people to step up if somebody does have an off day, and that happened in a big way today. And, that's what we're really trying to build here, that anyone that we line up on a given day can make a difference if they need to. And so just super proud of some of our younger athletes today that really stepped it up.
Lori, Norm Ogilvie, to us watching the race, the obvious step up was, other than your brilliant first two runners, was Samantha Bush rallying from behind. But tell us about the 4th and 5th runners, because we couldn't really see that too much. Tell us about your 4th and 5th runners and how they stepped up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the top 2 running as fast as they did is just, amazing. I don't think we really, were planning on it being that fast, but they handled that very well. And then, Sam kind of changed her strategy a little bit from the last race, and I think that worked out really well for her. But Brooke Robber and Gianna Corzo were just clutch today, and Nevada Marino too. I mean, really, we had a really close gap there from 4 to 6. I think I really haven't had a chance to look at results that much, but again, when we have people that can step up and fill that void when we need to, just I think makes everybody up here really happy. They really do run for each other, and so I think that really showed today.
Coach, congratulations. The consistency with your program. It's on the regionals and nationals. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Lori Hennis in her 17th season, North Carolina State for the 7th straight year, your ACC team champions. Norm, closing thoughts from this year's edition.
Well, 2 tremendous races. The men's race, obviously the thrilling finish between Parker Wolf and Carter Solomon. And then the women's race, it was the team race that was so dramatic and not really answered until we found out the final score.
Could not have been a better setting. The backdrop of the Blue Ridge Mountains and Panorama Farms. And boy, did we have excitement. That's going to do it from this edition of the 2022 ACC Cross Country Championships. Congratulations to our winners. On the men's side, Carter Solomon, your team champion, Wake Forest. On the women's side, Caitlin Toohey and the Wolfpack of NC State. For Norm Ogilvie and our crew, this is Sean Kenny saying so long from Virginia.